Hi, welcome to the Rambling Tangent.
We are the Brohemians.
I'm Clark.
I'm Casey.
I'm an atheist.
I'm not.
Welcome to today's show. We're going to be viewing the video of the Arizona pastor calls for the execution of all gays. So I think we're just going to start off by playing the clip, rewatching it, seeing what he says, and we'll go from there.
And hilarity will ensue. I do like the orchard scene in the back, though. It's
Beautiful.
yeah, kind of gay, actually.
And 0.7% are bi. Well, that means nothing to me. They're all bi, as far as anybody who's a homo or bi, it's all the same category. Sodomite is what the Bible would call them.
Our parents call gay sodomites. So classy.
Not all of them sodomize.
I'm going to pause this real quickly. All right, so sodomy, as defined in both the Bible and the U.S. law, U.S. code, is defined as any sexual act other than missionary position. You get your dick sucked. That's sodomy. You do doggy style. You do reverse cowgirl. 69. Yeah.
What about scissoring? Is that sodomy?
Scissoring is sodomy. Anal sex is not just sodomy. It's anything but missionary position. So if you're doing anything except for missionary position, you're a sodomite as well.
Wow.
I wonder if he realizes that.
So unless you're doing it through the hole in the sheet, you're
Pretty much, yeah.
breaking God's law.
Pretty much. Oh, and you can't pull out either.
Oh, yeah, you can't pull out. And what if you pee on each other in the...
It's probably sodomy.
Probably sodomy.
Yeah. Sodomy is this broad term that encompasses anything but missionary position.
And that's according to the Bible and
U.S. law.
the U.S. law.
Which is based off of the Bible's definition of sodomy. I mean, these laws have been around for ages in multiple countries. Not saying that U.S. law is based on the Bible. It's not. But some of the definitions, the older definitions, are. And sodomy was considered anything other than the missionary position. So you've got, going back to hundreds of years, we would actually have laws against certain sexual practices. And there was even a time that it was struck down. It wasn't until actually in 2000 and... God, I want to say it was 2001, 2002, that most of these sodomy laws were actually stricken off the books. But there were states that had laws against sodomy. And not just... It was targeting gays, yes, but it was also against married couples as well. So if the police officer saw you getting your dick sucked, he could arrest you for sodomy.
Are those the same states that have a high percentage of downloaded homosexual porn?
Oh, you mean the southern states?
Yeah.
The southern poor Republican states? Probably. I would not be surprised at all if that was the case.
Ain't nothing like a good viewing of Shaving Ryan's Privates. You know what I'm saying?
What?
It's a porno movie. Shaving Ryan's Privates.
Is that like Saving Private Ryan?
Well, of course, yeah. Have you ever seen those pornos that do a little take on actual movies?
Not really, no.
The best porno film
I saw Pirates. That was actually a pretty good movie.
That was one of the Vivid Productions. I used to work at
I actually went out
Video.
and I went and bought the R-rated version at the store because I liked the story so much.
Wow.
It was a good story.
So you enjoyed the plot line. So were you fast forwarding through the sex scenes to get to the plot line?
Maybe.
Actually, I can't hate because after working at a porn store, that's what I was completely, I'm desensitized to porno.
It's gotten to the point where I cannot watch a porn unless it's got a good storyline. I can't get turned on. Like it's like I want to jerk off to something. It's like, oh look, there's two people fucking. Okay, that's cool. It does nothing for me.
Yeah.
Now you give me a good storyline, like why are they actually wanting to have sex? I'm all there. Like, all right, let's get this on. But if it's a bad storyline, it's a complete turnoff to me.
So do you require like you require?
I want
a
some
little more,
setup, some build up.
You want some romance?
I want some romance, yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
so-
I want you to seduce me.
So when Clark masturbates, it's not just like normal guys where we just 2 seconds pull it off into the sock, bada bing, bada. You run a bath, you put bubbles in there, you throw in Dave Matthews, you make
I
yourself feel
wasn't Dave
pretty.
Matthews.
Whatever you got to listen to.
Well,
Dan
You
Fogelberg.
don't
I don't know.
masturbate in the bathroom either. No,
That's one of the best places too.
there's a bedroom for that.
Yeah, but
I've got a nice, comfy bed.
You've
It's
got a
warm.
drain. You've got a drain in the sink.
I've got a towel as well.
Yes, but as most guys do, your towel starts to get a little crusty after a while because you probably don't wash that towel every single time. I bet if I go into your room night like right now, the carpet would probably look like you spilled candle wax all over it.
No, my carpets are very clean.
Really.
The towels now, yeah. And the drapes.
I'm gonna bring my black light
And the
over
walls,
and just
and the ceiling.
see exactly what kind of.
But the floor is good. The floor is good. Everything else is just covered in semen. Everything. It's just dripping down the walls right now.
Wow! So that's not texture on the walls there.
No, that's
actual-
not texture. No,
Oh,
that's
well, it is texture, but
that's dried cum.
it's natural.
Yeah. I can't allow women in there anymore, otherwise they risk getting pregnant.
I want to throw up right now.
Yes. All right, back to the pastor.
Let's watch this dude.
Cure for AIDS.
He's got a
Okay.
cure.
And
Should go get his
everybody's
Nobel
talking
Prize.
about, let's have an AIDS-free world by 2020, or let's have an AIDS-free. Look,
Yes, let's have it for AIDS-free world. Okay, what's his solution?
Okay, it wouldn't be totally AIDS-free, but we'd be like 90-some% AIDS-free by.
I bet he's found a cure somewhere that he's able
Here's
to.
what the Bible says.
Oh.
Leviticus 20:13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with the woman. Okay.
Oh, Leviticus.
It says, even both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And that, my friend, is the cure for AIDS. It
Notice
was
how
right
quickly
there
he
in the
ran
Bible
over. They
all
should be
along.
put to death.
And they're out spending billions of dollars and research.
Are you saying
and
there's
testing
more to that
things
verse?
Curable. Right there. Because if you executed the homos like God recommends, you wouldn't have all this AIDS running around. See, well, I just don't believe that. Okay, well, let's get the statistics then. Since you don't believe what the Bible says, let's see if you believe science. Because this is what
Never has a more ironic phrase been uttered. If you don't believe what the Bible says, let's see if you believe science. Well, of course I don't believe what the fucking Bible says, and of course I believe what science says, and the Bible and science have never gone hand in hand.
I feel like every time that he says that or somebody plays that and he says the word science, I feel like scientists.
An angel
and
dies
free
somewhere?
thinker- Somewhere, something happens. Like the angel gets his wings when the bell. Every time this dude says science, an atheist shits his pants, or a scientist,
You shit my pants.
loses hair. I think right now, I'm sure there's scientists, free thinkers, and people who are educated right now are just like, there's something weird in the air right now.
I almost injured myself when I first watched that movie, face palming as hard as I could. So let's break this down a little bit. First of all,
Let's do.
how do we feel, just off the bat, how do we feel about that clip? Like, when I first watched it, my first reaction was, I laughed. I didn't think it was real. Like,
It can't be real.
it can't be real. This is 2014, and we have a person calling for the mass killing of an entire people. Some people have called it genocide, and it's not genocide because they're not a nation or a race, something like that. But they are a people. They are a community. So
Well, which one of the 10 Commandments talks about homosexuality, and which one of the 10 Commandments talks about not murdering?
there's that. There is definitely.
If we
that.
want to take it from just a biblical perspective.
If you want to take it from a biblical perspective, and the easiest way that the Christians get around that is when they say, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." Adultery is also any sort of unlawful sex act.
Unlawful as for our standards of today, as far as man's
Biblical.
law?
God's law.
Biblical law.
Because the laws of God are above the laws of man.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah. Which is why we're still getting smited left and right
Or,
today.
as they should probably say, the laws that they think God would want are above the laws of man.
Of course. Ever notice how easy it is that the what God wants is strangely similar to what you want?
It's amazing. And people talk about gay people being a blasphemy. Now we're going to look up a little Leviticus here to see exactly the verse that he is quoting and if there are any other abominations in Leviticus.
All right, so what does it say? Blah, 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 blah. So he said Leviticus 20 was if a man lies with a man as he does with a woman, it's abomination. And
So we couldn't, well, see, I cuddle with my wife and spoon. If we were to go, see, right now, abomination, Clark, but we're not lying down, we're sitting up. So, technicality.
I can't put the camera anywhere where we can lie down.
If
and
we were to
spoon.
go into your room right now and just spoon and do nothing else,
You'd get pregnant.
Is that an abomination? I get pregnant? Are
Yeah.
you that fertile?
Yeah.
Or I'm that fertile?
I'm that fertile. I could blast through the fact that you don't even have a womb, and it would just create like this monster inside of you. Probably
Wow.
probably a devil, since I'm evil.
Would that make you believe in God if that happened?
If I created a devil, no, it'd make me believe in the devil.
Yeah, but wouldn't, if you know, wouldn't it be like kind of like almost an immaculate conception, sort of?
It would just be awesome.
Yeah. Well, for you, I'd be the pregnant one, and now I've got to deal with morning sickness. While you're in here making a sandwich and chili, I got to smell the onions, and I'm puking in the toilet, and you don't
I actually
care.
had a dream once.
Oh,
It was
great.
the weirdest. It was a weird dream, where the dream lasted about a week, like in real time in the dream. It was so weird. I was only asleep for like a couple hours though, and I dreamt that I was pregnant. The most horrifying, humiliating, terrible experience of my life. Thank God it was just a dream, but I dreamed that I was pregnant, and I felt fat and ugly and bloated, and I was sick, and I was pissed off that people were poking and it was horrible. And for the record, ladies, you have so much respect going through that. I went through a week of that in a dream, and I woke up almost crying.
We mean that in a very pandering way as well.
I was so thankful that I was not pregnant. And now I feel bad that I have ever put someone through that, and I never want to put someone through that again, because that was a horrifying, horrible experience.
Chalk that up to reason like number 121 of thank God I'm a guy.
Yeah. Number one, of course, is that I can pee anywhere.
Yeah, the world is our urinal.
Yep. I can write in the snow, too.
But women can too, but it's a little more like
Cursive?
one of those spray,
It's like spray paint instead of a laser pen.
if they want to do it, they got to hold like little,
I'm sure there's some woman out there that's really, really good at peeing in the snow.
You'd have to take a lot of practice.
That's probably an abomination.
Probably, I'm sure it is.
So let's figure out what a couple of these abominations are.
I know that lying down with another man is an abomination.
So if we
given,
if we
of
were,
course,
if we were going to follow this pastor's laws, because he's wanting to follow Leviticus, so let's follow Leviticus and let's see what the fuck
let's
actually
get
is.
fundamental about this. If you're
Yeah.
going to go it, let's do it balls out. If you're going to call out gay people because in Leviticus it's an abomination, let's go even further and call out the other
absolutely,
abominations.
absolutely.
Let's eradicate this world of every abomination there is.
Absolutely.
So let's see what they are.
So number one is death penalty for using the Lord's name in vain. We're getting this from pflagdetroit.org. Did I pronounce that right? Pflag?
pflag.detroit.org.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good enough. I typed in abominations in Leviticus in Google, and it's the first one that came up.
We've got 11 abominations in Leviticus, which incidentally, Old Testament, if we're going biblical, Jesus came, fulfilled the New Testament. You don't
Yes.
have to live by the archaic laws. I think
Which
it was
means
either,
that we should be able to fuck dudes.
it was either Peter or Paul, I think one, that actually said in the Bible, and I'm not sure, I'd have to look this up, so correct me if I'm wrong, that said basically that the Old Testament was worthless in so many words. That
Yes.
Jesus came to fulfill the New Testament.
Paul admonished Peter, saying that we're not following the old law anymore because there's a new law, there's a new covenant, so this is pretty much worthless now.
Do you know it's probably in bad taste to eat while we're filming a show, though?
Yeah, but I'm hungry and I don't care.
Do you have low blood sugar or something?
No, I'm
You
hungry.
didn't offer me a bagel.
Yes, I did. I said,
yeah,
you
you
want a
did.
bagel?
That's right.
You said no.
But that's probably an abomination for a man to offer another man a bagel. No, I ain't going to hell.
It's French toast.
Yeah. Again, French. It's freedom toast here in America. Sorry.
Do they call it freedom kissing?
Should be.
All right, so death penalty for using the Lord's name in vain. This is Leviticus 24, verse 16. He who blasphemes the name of the Lord shall be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him, the sojourner as well as the native, when he blasphemeth the name shall be put to death. So that's the sojourner, the traveler. So not just the people that have that faith. That's everyone who blasphemes. So if I said, God damn it, Jesus fucking Christ, I deserve to be stoned right now.
I can get you stoned. I know a guy. Maybe that's what they were talking about in the Bible. Maybe.
How nice of them. They're like, dude, you fucking dude. Here's a joint, man. Get stoned. Everyone gets stoned.
Seems like Christ was always around people getting stoned.
Yeah. He's also around a bunch of dudes.
Long hair.
So there's actually a gospel where Jesus and Mark, the guy who wrote the Gospel of Mark, supposedly, were lovers. Yep. No, it's not Mark. Sorry, I take that back. I am wrong. It was Lazarus. Lazarus, the guy who rose from the dead.
Right.
It was him and Lazarus, where Lazarus comes.
Lazarus
from
and who?
Jesus.
So Jesus and Lazarus were. Where did we find this one at?
It's in one of the apocryphal gospels.
One of the ones that were taken out of the Bible.
Yeah, because Jesus and Lazarus were fucking each other.
And you wonder why Christians think you atheists are immoral.
Because we find shit in their books.
I'd point out facts and stuff. Come on, that's bullshit.
All right, 2. This is the famous one: prohibition against eating pork.
Oh, that would.
This is Leviticus 11:17.
No bacon.
So they say, then swine, because of the part of the hoof and the cloven foot, but does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. Other your flesh you shall not eat, and their carcass you shall not touch. They are unclean to you.
Maybe back in the day
It
before
doesn't
they
say that
had.
you're going to die. They're not going to kill you for this one. It doesn't say.
But it's an abomination.
But it is an abomination.
Now,
So
abomination sounds like a pretty hardcore term.
most abominations you were killed for, yeah.
I would think it's an abomination. It's not like a.
So Leviticus also says that you have to have animal sacrifice. It says, note, the first several chapters of Leviticus are devoted to mandatory animal sacrifice, such as the wringing of turtle necks, the cutting open of goats and bulls, and the vivisection of female lambs for various sins. So various sins that you committed require different animals to kill and have a blood sacrifice.
Sounds logical.
Cave people, even the cave people that exist today, are obsessed with blood sacrifices, washed in Jesus' blood. If someone came to you like, here, I've got a bucket of blood, I'm going to dump this on your head, and because of that, you're no longer going to go to prison. Yeah, granted, you're like, okay, I'll take the trade, but someone's like, hey, you didn't do anything bad, how about I just dump this on your head because you lied?
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna dump a bucket of human blood all over you.
If it would help me grow hair, I'd be down for it.
You would do anything to grow hair back. If I said, Casey, if you suck my dick, your hair will grow back, you would be on that in a second.
I'd have to pro and con that one for a little bit and see.
Really?
I mean, would I want my hair back, but also a little bit of money for therapy.
Why would you need therapy? That's an amazing dick.
It may be the most amazing penis. I would still need therapy. I don't care if it has.
I would need therapy seeing your bald head down there.
You know, and something that you would understand. My dick could look like a lightsaber, and have.
I wouldn't want to suck on that.
Have a face of whatever Luke and Gandalf holding hands or whatever.
All right, speaking of Gandalf, let's get back to Leviticus, though.
Leviticus all the way.
Because Gandalf is also an abomination.
Well,
He's
of
a
course
wizard.
he is, yeah.
So, death penalty for spiritualists. Any man or woman who is a medium or a wizard shall be put to death. They shall be stoned with stones. What the fuck else are you going to stone them with?
How are you going to stone a wizard? I've seen wizards in movies. How do you throw a rock at him and that's your thing? Like, you can't stop that? I mean, I saw a battle in Lord of the Rings where they were throwing each other on the walls.
Yeah.
And you're going to come in with some pebbles?
The
Lord says it shall be true.
There's like, bitch, please.
I think you might need a little
You
bit
try and
something
stone
more.
Harry Potter, that motherfucker will fuck you up. Or the dude without the nose guy.
The name who can't be mentioned.
Voldemort? All right, prohibition against eating fat.
Yeah!
Yeah, no eating fat. That you shall neither eat fat nor blood. Leviticus 3:17. Forbidding of hair and beard trimming. You know, he seemed to have a trimmed beard. It wasn't a fully long, he had short hair.
You ever seen one of those old guys with a big beard at like a buffet
Yeah.
and it's got food stuck in it? You know there's bacon in there. So he's like triple whammy there.
Yeah.
Because bacon has fat on it. He's got a beard. Maybe he hasn't trimmed it. Maybe it's somewhat trimmed. And perhaps he used the Lord's name. Like every time I've eaten bacon that's really good, I'm like, God damn, this is good bacon.
So prohibition against eating crab, clams, or oysters. So no shellfish. You can't eat shellfish as well.
How shellfish of them.
I know. Kill yourself.
All right, yeah, I should.
Death penalty for adultery.
Well, of course, yes.
Both the adulterer and the adulterer shall be put to death. Leviticus lists 4 other kinds of adultery for which the death penalty is also mandatory. So there's different kinds of adultery.
Try that. Try telling that to your wife. No, honey, there's different kinds of cheating on you.
So the profanity of a disabled individual. If you're disabled, or if you have a scarred face, or you have something fucked up about you, you're not allowed to enter the temple or come into the congregation, as was called.
So
then.
people in wheelchairs, people that are paraplegics.
He shall not come near the veil or approach the altar because he has a blemish, that he may not profane my sanctuaries.
Well, so much for all of God's children.
All God's children got wheelchairs.
Wow. This Leviticus,
Yeah,
this whole Old Testament sounds pretty much like a real pissy God.
yeah. So I mean, there's a list of abomination.
I looked it up earlier at one time, and it was like 100 and something.
Well, there's 600 laws of ancient Jewish laws.
Of course, Christy Brinkley.
She's an abomination.
Of course.
Let's try to find another list of abominations. Close that out.
Well, while he's looking for that, the point
Love
is,
of money.
the point is really becoming very obvious. If you're going to use, Christians have a hard time. They don't want people to cherry pick
Here we
the
go.
Bible.
Yeah, they
And
don't-
They always scream all the time that you can't pick this part out of the Bible. You have to believe the whole thing. Yet they do the cherry picking most of the time. They look for clobber verses that are like 2-3 vague verses in the Bible that may or may
Yeah.
not say something to the effect of homosexuality. Yet there are 500-600 verses talking about the love of God.
Yeah.
There is no,
So if you want to go for amount of things that God hates, well, that's mostly the Bible. Things that God hates. The prescriptions against homosexuality are very, very far and few between. You've got Leviticus that talks about homosexuality. And a lot of people say, well, Sodom and Gomorrah. But that's not actually true. I believe it's in Ezekiel where they ask, well, what was the crime of Sodom and Gomorrah? It's because they were haughty. Sin of pride. And there they talk about that's why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Now,
because they were
haughty,
proud of their stuff.
apparently. It might have also been, let's be fair to the story, that they were trying to rape an angel. And the good guy of the story, Lot, he's the good guy, mind you, said, hey, no, don't rape angels. Here's my daughter. Why don't you gang rape her instead?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because, women were worthless back then. Getting back to the idea of this pastor, he really wants to have a biblical worldview. And I'm assuming that he wants to have the Old Testament as well. He should kill himself because he has his beard trimmed. He should kill himself because he's wearing mixed fabrics. He should kill himself because I noticed that there were several women in there that were wearing jackets.
Mm-hmm. And maybe
Men's
jewelry.
clothing. And wearing jewelry.
I believe 2 Timothy doesn't allow
The wearing of jewelry.
the wearing of jewelry.
Yeah.
Women have to suffer in silence. So if any women out there that are Christian have any debate with the show that we have or any of that, you really can't say anything about it because
Check yourself.
you need to shut up.
Because Timothy says that...
Biblically
you should-
speaking.
Yeah, biblically speaking, they have no right to talk to us.
Right.
You want to follow the Bible? Okay, follow the Bible. And if you want to say, hey, I think that's kind of bullshit, you better be able to back it up why it's bullshit, because the Bible disagrees with you, and the Bible is the word of God. Therefore, God disagrees with you, and you're going to hell for disagreeing with us because we're just following the Bible.
Probably the bigger.
God, I love that logic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. In fact, it's sometimes when you watch certain of these videos, my brain just completely doesn't know what to do. There's so many things I want to say, but I can't because I'm almost baffled by the amount of idiocy that the logic that would actually bring you to a place where you're actually thinking that yes, we need to murder all of the gay people in the world to get rid of AIDS, or at
By
least as
Christmas.
equals 90 some odd percent.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, you're dead.
Yep.
Now, so let's talk a little bit about AIDS and homosexuality. So the places that we're having the greatest AIDS epidemic in are in Africa. And we know why, actually. We're very, very confident about why there's such a bad epidemic in Africa. It's because of a lack of education.
Rock music.
It always, well, yeah, that too. Rock music gets you AIDS. But besides the rock music, we know a lot about why AIDS is prevalent in Africa. It's a lack of education. AIDS is not just transmitted through homosexual sex. In fact, the lowest population of AIDS in the world is among lesbians. People are like, well, why is that? They're gay. Yeah, they're gay, and they don't have AIDS in anywhere near amount that straight people do and homosexual men do, because it's penile penetration, penis to anus, penis to vagina, and it's actually. I lost my train of thought while I was going this one. Okay, so it's
You started talking about penis to butthole. And
I
vagina.
did, and I was just like, oh, penis
I understand.
to butthole.
I understand.
Yeah, romance me a little bit when you talk about it, though. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I need a good story. So, in Africa right now, there's a lot of misinformation about how AIDS is transmitted. And since the Catholic Church is very, very adamant against using condoms while sex is being used, people are having sex without condoms, and AIDS is being transmitted, among many other diseases, and people getting pregnant and not being able to support these kids at all. So you've got starvation going on, poverty. And we're not saying that condoms are going to fix all the problems, but it would definitely solve quite a few problems.
Well, I do think that there has to be a sort of responsibility about sex, because sex right now in America is so taboo, and people even parents talking to their children have a hard time talking and even saying the word penis or vagina. They say woo-hoo or hilly-haw or whatever they want to.
Winky.
So, winky-woo, whatever you were called. But it gives the kids a sense that there's something wrong with their genitals. And I think that it pushes them further to go, well, what's wrong about that? And then when they figure out that, well, it's kind of bullshit what you told me, that this kind of feels really good, and I don't feel like there's anything wrong with it. And then that's when it starts to get abused. Now, I will say that, it would behoove people that get into a relationship to not start out. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having sex. I'm saying if you want to go long term, it might behoove people to wait at least a little bit while they figure each other out. Because I do believe that once you have sex, even subconsciously, some of your decisions now, whether you're going to be in that relationship or whether you like that person or not, are based somewhat sexually.
Well, they should be as well, though.
Well, yes, but that should be, because eventually the hotness and all that stuff kind of dies down a little bit, and you need to be left with something more than just sex.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that
There's
side.
not something intrinsically wrong with having sex by any means, but it is a responsibility. Even if you do wear a condom, there's a chance that she might get pregnant. So you have to have that discussion of whether you're ready. That's a byproduct of having sex.
Be ready for the responsibility.
So that's why, maybe abortion is really prevalent, or and again,
Abortion is most prevalent in areas in the United States that have abstinence-only education.
But I do think abortion is not the problem. That is a Band-Aid to a bigger problem,
Yes.
I think, of people not taking responsibility for their actions.
Well, either they're not taking responsibility, or they're young teenagers that just aren't ready to have kids. You have a 14-year-old that's pregnant? No, that you're still a child.
I think we're still children until we even get into like our 50s and 60s.
Well, technically, we're still going through puberty until we're age 25.
I totally believe that.
And then after that, we start dying.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you're 25, you're fully grown, now you're dying.
Perhaps if we lived in more like village clusters where we respected our elders and we took care of our
Have you seen our
mothers,
elders?
fathers,
Our elders are telling us that to kill all the gays.
right,
those
in a
guys.
perfect world.
Yeah, well,
If we had respect for our elders, and we didn't just shove them into a nursing home, and we actually made them more part of the family unit, we lived in smaller clusters, then you wouldn't have so much worry about perhaps maybe if the kids did freely have sex and one of them got pregnant, there would still be
there'll be a family there to support and take care
and
of.
they can still be kids, but they're being, raised by the wiser ones that are older, but their
Yeah.
parents are still their parents.
Yeah.
So they have that help. It's, the whole village takes a village to raise a kid. We have to come together more as a community, but that ain't happening anytime soon. So,
That's not happening. It'd be nice, but it's not happening.
Oh, it'd be a beautiful world.
So one of the biggest problems that I've heard about in Africa is the misinformation about how to cure AIDS. So you've got a lot of witch doctors and homegrown remedies how to cure AIDS. And one of the most disturbing ones that I am revolted by is that there's a myth that goes around that if you have AIDS or HIV positive and you go and have sex with a virgin, you'll be cured of AIDS.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So guess what happens? You go and you have sex with this virgin, or you forcibly rape her because she doesn't want to have sex. Either or, whether it's consensual or not. And now you've given another person, knowingly given another person AIDS or HIV. This is pure misinformation. People are not educated enough. And when people are uneducated and ignorant, like this dumb fuck pastor in Arizona, you get stupid shit like this. If you want to cure AIDS, it's going to take education and work. It's not going to take killing people, because there's plenty of heterosexuals that are HIV and have AIDS. You don't just get it from having gay sex. There are plenty of gay men out there that are in a loving relationship and a committed relationship that are not HIV positive and will never be HIV positive because they are only with one partner.
And how do you even go about killing all the gays? Do you trick them and say, hey,
Look at this dick. Hey, look at the dick. Hey, bam.
hey, if you like,
How would you do that?
you attract them to one building by saying that there's whatever, cliche gay people like. Let's take gay men and take the cliche gay. There's a
Feather
sale.
boas for everyone.
Exactly. Something. Oh, this is a nice room here. And what's that ticking sound? Forcibly put him on an island and nuke the island. I just want to know how he wants to go about logistically of eradicating the world of gay people. And if that's fine, this is your idea. What's the how do you apply that now? Where are you going to go from here?
I'm just going to throw something out there and think that. So it's a well-known fact, and there's multiple studies to back this up. The more homophobic a person is, the more likely that they themselves are gay or have homosexual tendencies. This guy's calling for the death to gays.
So what you're saying?
This guy likes the cock
So he's
in or around his mouth hole.
So he's got a basement in his house somewhere.
Yeah, he
That
probably
he locks the door.
he probably masturbates to gay porn, and he's angry about the fact that he has this weakness.
Well, that's the devil just giving him.
Exactly. So
yeah.
he wants to get rid of the temptation, and if he kills all the gays, there'll be no one to make gay porn for him, so he won't have to watch gay porn, and he'll go to heaven.
I have a hard time believing he's even wearing pants behind that pulpit.
Oh, he is. He comes out.
Oh, does he?
He's
Oh, he
wearing
comes
pants.
out, does he?
Yeah. He runs around and yells and screams and
In his tweed suit.
yeah. It's not tweed.
Well, whatever it is.
Tweed is a
Mixed
specific type.
fabric.
Yeah, it's a mixed fabric. It's a polyester suit.
Which is an abomination.
Yep. Yep. Any mixture of fabrics is.
Now, why is it? What is the practical application? I know, like, let's say pork. Okay, we didn't have refrigeration, couldn't store it properly.
Shellfish, you only have certain times.
You're getting whatever, botulism from pork. So, okay, well, this pork's killing people. I don't want to hack onto certain comedians' bits, but at the same time,
What's the purpose?
what is there a value in what these abominations are, like pork is? Like I said, now we have a proper way to store pork. You can actually nowadays cook pork to a medium.
So Leviticus was written by the priest. It was not written by Moses. We can actually tell that the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Pentateuch as we call it, was not written by Moses. It was written by 5 to 6 different authors at different times. And you had one part that was like the priests that were writing it. So you can tell that the very structured, rigid rules. So a lot of Leviticus was written by a priesthood. The priests were in charge of people. They were ruling people, and they were keeping them in line. The best way to keep someone in line is have them constantly worried about if they're breaking the rules. Whether they agree with those rules or not, but they're always looking over, oh, am I breaking this one? Am I breaking this one? They're too busy worried about if they're breaking the rules to actually question why they're rules.
Ah, I see. So you keep their mind busy with a bunch of bullshit, and they don't have time to question the real shit.
Exactly. Like, you can't go 65 miles an hour in a 60. You can't, change lanes without the blinker. So the more rules you have, the harder it is for you to figure out why you have these rules in the first place. Not saying that that's America, but I'm saying that's America. Yeah. It was also a Roman philosopher said that the mark of a corrupt government is an excessive amount of laws. When you have more laws than you can remember.
Well, in this country, we're trying to legislate morality, and then we've given up a lot of our liberties for the illusion of safety, and so we continually do that, and eventually...
Benjamin Franklin said, those who abandon their liberties for the sake of safety deserve neither. I'm paraphrasing. But basically, if you give up your freedoms because you want to be safe, dickface, you don't deserve either of those. You have freedom by being unsafe. That's the beauty of it. It's a trade-off. You have the freedom to walk down the street with a gun, and so does the other guy, and you might get shot. So do we have legislature so everyone's safe and no one's free, or do we have legislature where everyone's free and no one is safe? It's a balance, trying to find that nice balance. That's why we say that my liberties end where yours begin. I am perfectly free to swing my arms around until it touches your face. In that case, it's assault, because your liberties have been touched upon, infringed upon by me hitting you, unless you're into that sort of thing.
I think George Carlin, said it best when he said, we don't have rights, we have privileges.
Yep.
If you can take away somebody's rights, they're not a right to begin with. Basically, like we talked about before,
Yeah.
we basically have the right to think.
Yep.
And that's about the only right that we have that's intrinsic to everything else is
You
just privileges.
don't have that right in Christianity.
No, you don't have that right, no, because that's blasphemy. But you can think.
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to.
You have the ability to.
Yes, but if you think the wrong thing, a thought crime, it's a sin. So I could think God damn it in my head. That's a sin.
That's Catholicism.
That's also the Bible. If you look at a woman with lust in your heart, I say unto you, you have already committed adultery with her. Jesus motherfucking Christ said that.
100% of men in this world have committed adultery.
Yes.
Because...
And adultery is an abomination. According to Leviticus, you deserve death.
Or at least to be stoned.
At least to be stoned.
And...
Yeah. Now, Leviticus was, and the Old Testament was supposedly done away with by Christ, right? And other people, other atheists, a lot of times will come back and say, yes, well, I think it was Mark 17, or Mark chapter 5, verse 17. It's in Mark and I think in Matthew, where Jesus says, not a tittle or a jot of the old law shall pass away. He hasn't come to abolish the old law, he's come to fulfill it. So saying that, yes, I'm here and there's a new covenant, but the old law is still in effect. So that's when you get into like Peter and Paul, Timothy, and all those guys when they were arguing about whether what was actually in effect or not. Paul was saying, fuck the old law, let's do our shit. And Peter was like, yeah, we can do the Jews and the pork and snippy the penis. Paul was like, no.
Just the bacon thing alone would make me...
Bacon!
Well,
they've got turkey bacon.
You probably still... there's probably still an abomination there somewhere.
Turkeys?
Maybe.
They're scavengers.
Maybe you didn't wring the neck properly. Or
possibly.
Do the little dance or whatever it was.
You ever realize that turkeys are basically just like a giant chicken?
I don't really care. I only eat turkey. Well, I eat turkey deli meat, but as far as a turkey, maybe once a year. Thanksgiving.
Huh.
I don't cook a turkey, more than once or twice a year. I don't even know.
I like chicken.
Twice. I do like chicken.
I make a really good stuffed chicken.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I bet you do. I bet you do, you abominator.
There's nothing abomination about stuffing a chicken. Unless you're
Depends
stuffing
on
it
how
with...
you're stuffing it.
You're stuffing it with, yeah. Certain things. Don't stuff a chicken with your dick.
Well, and I was saying don't stuff it with bacon. I don't know where you're getting this whole having sex with a chicken thing. I don't even know how that would work. What are the logistics on that?
It's got
And
a
what would
hole.
that sound like? That poor, poor, poor chicken.
You don't know. It could be into it.
How would you know?
Speaking of which, that's actually an abomination. It's actually kind of couple of cool things about Leviticus. So in Leviticus, it's unlawful. It's an abomination for a man to have sex with an animal. It's also unlawful for a woman to have sex with an animal.
The thing is that guys, no matter what species we are, when we have a boner, that means we're ready for sex.
Not always.
Or we woke up in the morning and we've got a pee boner.
Or you've
But
been
for the
sexually stimulated.
But that's what I'm saying. For the most part, once the boner comes, let's put it in something, get rid of the boner. For the most part,
Okay.
right? But with a girl, you can't tell. As those of you who have girlfriends, wives, or whatever, they're fucking hard to read.
You have no idea.
Hard to read.
You're just like,
So you go
are
with
you mad at me or are those sex eyes?
yeah. But with
Mad
a
at
guy, the boner's the flag. I'm ready for sex most of the time.
Most of the time.
So if I'm playing, little
Devil's
advocate here, it would seem less bad for a woman to have sex with an animal than for a guy to have sex with an animal. Now, I'm not proponing, I'm not saying, well, we should have bestiality. I'm just saying that
You just want a donkey show.
if I'm not going to watch it. I'm just saying I would watch it, but I'm just saying that if the male dog has a boner, that means, hey, I can put this in a vagina and I would be fine. Whereas the female dog, you don't know for sure because she can't speak English.
So would bestiality be considered that with the male dog, you allow a dog to hump your leg until it gets off?
Some people have that. My dog.
Does that count?
My dog currently, female, Luna, for the last week has taken to humping her toy.
Domination.
Well, the thing is she doesn't hump it like a dog where it's all like this.
Yeah.
She's like slow and like Barry White kind of like love making to the toy. Like it really is like you could put some like, oh yeah, like to it. And she's like, she had it pinned up on the side doing the side thing going on.
That's
Like,
just creepy.
yeah, it's hilarious. But it's like when a little child says fuck. It's cute, but you don't want them to do it. It's,
Yeah.
it's hilarious, but
So while there is a prescription in Leviticus against homosexuality, it's actually only a prescription against man on man. There is no prescription against female on female.
everybody likes lesbians.
Think about it. Yeah, so it says a man cannot lie with a man as he does with a woman, but it never says that a woman cannot lie with a woman she does with a man.
As it shouldn't,
And I figured out why.
because lesbians are awesome.
Well, besides lesbians being awesome, that's part of it. So back in that time, back in the olden days, men had multiple wives, or were able to have multiple wives. And the people who had multiple wives were the ones who could afford them. So the rich people had multiple wives. Your average poor dude down the block probably didn't have multiple wives, if he had any at all.
And let's be specific. Back in the day, having multiple wives, not as scary as it would sound today to have multiple wives.
Yeah, because you could beat them. If
they
got
were
out.
submissive.
Yeah.
You could beat them.
They were basically sex slaves.
Today, if you had 7 wives by today's standards,
Oh my
yeah,
god. Oh.
that's 7 different.
See, I can never be a player at all because, one, I don't have the energy. I can't remember who I was talking to. Like, I'm still trying to figure out who the hell you are.
Yeah. Me
Bethany?
too. Me too.
Bethany?
You?
Sandra. You're
Michael.
Sandra.
Come on, Michael. Don't make me bring that up.
I will buck your ear hole. So I don't have the time, the energy, or the stamina to deal with more than one woman at a time. And that's not because women are terrible. That's because I am a shitty person. I don't see how I could ever have more than one wife.
I don't see how anybody could. I
If that's your thing, I'm actually not. I'm not against.
not
polygamy.
against it at all.
If consenting adults want to do that, cool. I'm all for people who want to have a polyamorous relationship or an open relationship. That's awesome, and I'm all for that. I was in sort of a polyamorous relationship before. I was the boyfriend on the side to the girl and the guy that they were dating. It was fun. It was, as long as you have communication, it works out great. And it ended on a good note. And I don't know. I haven't talked to them in years, but I'm assuming we're still friends. Meh.
Nah.
But yeah, so I'm all for that. I have no problem against the actual having multiple partners. What I'm against is how you treat them. And if you treat them like sex slaves or objects or just someone to fuck, then no, I'm against that. So yeah, you could have multiple wives. But again, it was the people who were rich because wives. You didn't marry for love, and this is where the misinformation of marriage is set up by God comes from. It's not. It was a purchase. It was a deal between two men saying, hey, you know what? I really want to buy something off of you, or I want to join an alliance with you. How do I make an alliance? Well, the best way to make an alliance is for you to have a grandson. The only way you can have a grandson is if you fuck my daughter. But the only way you let you fuck my daughter is if you marry her. So now the clans are united. Marriage did not unite the families. The child did, and specifically the son. That's how they were united. So the two families were united because there was a common child that was shared. That's what marriage was for originally. It was a social, civil contract. In fact, up until I want to say it was like the 1800s, 1820s, 1830s before marriage was actually considered like an institution of religion. Before then, you could just say, "Hey, yeah, we're married."
You didn't have to go through a bunch of
unless you were a royalty, there were no really marriages.
You didn't have to spend an inordinate amount of time at Walmart picking out.
Walmart.
We're not rich people. When we got married, we paid for our wedding. But every time I got a paycheck,
they didn't have Walmart back then.
Well, I'm talking about when my wife and I got married. I'm just saying they didn't have Walmart, but maybe they had Ishmael Mart or
olden times boutique.
Hi, I'll be your wedding. I'm the manager, Shadrach. Do you have a problem today at...
So I mean, you could have multiple wives, but you had to be rich, typically.
And have a lot of patience.
So the people who had multiple wives were the rich, and the rich typically were the priests. The priests were the ones who were writing Leviticus.
Aren't priests supposed to be celibate?
Only in the Catholic Church. And it's only in the Roman Rite. There's actually
but not with little boys, though.
Yeah, that's cool. That's all right. That's totally fine. It doesn't count because they're not women.
It's true.
Yeah, so it's not really sex.
But are you sodomizing them, though?
You're definitely sodomizing. You were sodomizing the fuck out of them.
How do you circumvent that around Leviticus?
Because Catholics don't believe in the Old Testament.
Bam! Loophole! Woo! God love Catholics.
Catholics
really
are
do.
Amazing.
Catholic is like the best religion out there. It's like the most gangster. Mm-hmm. It's really
lawyer
mafia associated with Catholicism.
Got a code of canon law. Catholics were like, fuck your laws. We're gonna write our own laws on top of laws that you can't deal with, and how to get around those laws. And they have canon lawyers, where they're lawyers specifically for canon law, and they'll argue whether it's a sin or not.
Like if I was gonna join a religion, it would be Catholicism. Just because it's so cool. But I wouldn't join it for the same reason that other people join religion. I would join it as like if I was to join...
Got some cool history.
Like a motorcycle club that I'm not supposed to be in. Or
like I want to join a motorcycle club. Let's join the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
I mean, you could join Barney's motorcycle club.
I'll go buy a bike.
Yeah.
Put on some leather and act the part. I'm not as badass as they are by any means.
You're not going to flagellate yourself?
No. Whatever that means. I'll fart. I don't care.
Whip yourself for penance.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of masochistic in that respect.
Yes, but you can't get off to it.
Oh, well then.
Because that's the same.
Well, no, I could, because then I could just ask for forgiveness later in that week when I'm talking to the priest.
Anytime, actually, you go to the priest and I ask for forgiveness.
What if I went to him, I'm like, I want to be an altar boy, but sir, you're 40. I know, I still want to be an altar boy.
You can be an altar boy at 40.
You can?
Yeah.
Well, will they...
Because the altar boy is just a slang for the server, altar server. Anyone can be an altar boy. You got the priest and his assistant. Typically, they would use young boys because they were training them to become men and to assist the priest, and later on to see if they had a vocation to the priesthood. Typically, altar boys were people who were in the monastery, orphans, and that they would grow up through the monastery, and they would become priests or monks eventually.
I wonder if like any altar boys were not allowed to be altar boys because they were like chubby or they didn't fit the I'm sorry, Billy.
Too tight a sphincter.
Yeah. It'd be fun, but your glasses and
you're just weird looking. I just don't do anything for me.
Yeah, I can't.
I was actually kicked out of altar boy practice in a private Catholic school. So growing up, I was an altar boy. Yep.
That explains a whole lot right now.
Fudos vos.
Bezivoses?
Fudos vos is Latin for fuck you.
Oh, in vito verita.
So I knew all the responses in Latin as well, and I was in the little black cassock and little white surplice and all that shit. It was
That sexy outfit.
It was basically a black robe dress thing. It was pretty ridiculous, actually. Pretty ridiculous. But the priest would be like, Dominus vobiscum, and I would say, et cum spiritu tuo. That's Latin for the Lord be with you, and I would say, and also with your spirit. So, go fast forward to high school, and my mom was like, you should join the Knights of the Altar. It's all very military, knights and soldiers and warriors, and
It's very warlike.
I was like, I don't give a shit about this. But then I found out they had donuts.
Oh,
I lasted 3 weeks before they asked me when I was going to sign up, and I was like, I'm not serving. Like, I'm just here for the meetings and the donuts. I'm like, Clark, get out. I was like, fine, but I'm taking another donut with me.
just like an AA.
Yeah, I'm just here for the food.
Just here.
Yeah, I'm
Just here for the Oreos and coffee.
So getting back to Leviticus and the priest. So the priest did not specifically put in that you couldn't have female on female sex, because if you've got multiple wives, sometimes you want to lay back and you want to watch a little bit. You don't really want you've gotten yours. You're like, you two, you just play with each other. Well, they couldn't do that if it was an abomination, and if you're the guy in charge of writing down what's an abomination or not, you go, hey, Bernie, don't put that shit in there. Jezebel and Brunhilde over here, they like to play with each other, and I kind of like to watch.
This has got to be one of the coolest things about the Bible that I've ever heard, is that lesbians are good to go.
Lesbians are good to go in the Bible. Absolutely.
As they should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, gay guys.
Gay guys, fuck those guys. Well, don't fuck them, but kill them.
No, that's gross. A hairy butt.
Yeah.
I want to see two girls.
Yeah.
More vagina.
Now, interesting thing, in the New Testament, they're not as cool with lesbians, actually. Yeah, a woman defiling herself with another woman, and the men defiling themselves with other men.
That very statement is defiling, because a woman defiling herself with another woman. Well, I
Two
guess
girls, one cup.
I get. Oh yeah,
That's defilement.
way to bring that up.
I will agree at that point. That's defiling.
Wow.
You're literally just shatting her mouth.
I've seen that video twice. Once all the way
Twice?
through. Yeah. No, only because we kept showing it to friends, and it was all about getting their reaction. And then,
Saw
of course,
it once, almost puked, and I was done.
I still think that was like ice cream or something.
I'm just remembering, dude. Oh my god, that was so horrible.
And that Halo music in the background.
There was music?
Yeah, there was.
I thought there was just.
It was like, it starts out with that like Halo music, if I remember correctly, after watching it several times. No. Yeah, they put Halo music in the background. Well,
You get that hot feeling in your mouth when you're gonna puke.
do we keep talking about it?
No, I'd like to move on from that.
Well, of course, pooping into each other's mouths is
All right, let's-
sure an abomination of some kind.
That's not mentioned.
Oh,
in the
it's
Bible.
not?
No.
So 2 chicks in a cup in the Old Testament version would be perfectly fine. They're pooping into each other's mouth, having lesbian sex. But if they were to eat bacon,
Yeah,
then it's all
that's
over.
actually 2 girls, 1 cup is completely biblical, Old Testament wise.
Yeah.
Huh.
Huh. Huh.
Huh.
Huh. Huh.
Interesting.
Things that make you go, what the fuck?
Yeah. But, slavery is perfectly legal in the Old Testament and the New Testament as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's how our, most industrialized nations have
So
been built. off the hands
let's
of
let's
people.
wrap this up. Let's bring this together. Let's
Yeah,
figure
I have
out.
to pee, so.
What should be done about this pastor? Obviously, he's an idiot. And obviously, this guy is a very hateful person that is, I think, projecting his own homosexuality and his disgust of it onto everyone else and his desire to flee from himself.
Well, I would like to say that this guy represents the minority, I
Yes.
believe, in religion.
Yes.
This extreme view, this is not indicative of the rest of, you're not going to go to a
This
church.
is not all Christians.
You're not going to go to church and go, hey, should we kill all gay people? They're going to look at you real weird.
Yeah.
Now, they do have beliefs that, that homosexuality is wrong in their eyes. And, we could debate and educate on that. And I think that's how we get it. This guy's not going to do anything. It's like, I'm not worried about, as far as racism and these kind of things go, I'm not worried about the Klan or white supremacists or preachers like this that are very vocal.
Yeah.
I want them to be vocal so we can know where the fuck they are.
Yeah.
It's the very subtle racism, the subtle fascism, the subtle subjectiveness to women. Those things are what I think
He
are
says
harder.
it's not his job to stone the gays. It's the government's job, and he's calling for all Baptist and Christian ministers to talk to their congressmen to pass a resolution to kill the gays.
I think it's good that he posted this on YouTube, and I think it's good that he's being as vocal as he is, because it really puts it out there so that even Christians and religious people alike can really see themselves sort of in a mirror and go, what part of me is that?
Yeah.
Because if even though I'm not advocating the eradication of all homosexuals based on Old Testament,
Am I agreeing with
am
that?
I agreeing with sort of the sentiment into a certain level? Like, I don't want to kill them, but they are an abomination. We need to figure out how this, and maybe I agree with the fact that for the most part, homosexuality is what caused AIDS.
And why do you disagree that? Why do you think homosexuality is bad? Well, Leviticus says it. Okay, well, this guy is just taking it, like you said, he's being fundamental. This guy is being a Christian. He's following the Bible literally. This guy is not bullshitting. This guy is actually following his religion to the book, to the letter. Mm-hmm. I got to give him props for that.
Yeah, because some of you wishy-washy Christians and religious
Yeah.
out there kind of pick and
It's
choose.
just about love.
It's allegory.
It's a
and really-
relationship with Jesus.
Which I more agree with than that, but what I'm saying is if you're going to go with something like we've discussed before, go
Yeah.
balls out. Don't bullshit
Yeah.
around. Go for the gusto. But remember that if you're going to consider gay people, gay men particularly in the Old Testament abomination, like we pointed out before, then you need to go down the line and figure out what else is an abomination and quit doing that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, if you do anything on the Sabbath, including picking up firewood to go make a fire, you're dead.
if you're going by the Old Testament,
Yeah.
Jesus said you could do good work.
Yeah.
And these are all, this is New Testament stuff.
Exactly. So you're either going to go by the New Testament, in which case you throw the Old Testament out, including your
Just
precious little
rip
Ten
your
Commandments.
Bible in half.
Throw it the fuck out.
Start with Matthew and go on from there. Isn't
Yeah.
that the beginning of the New Testament is
Yes.
Matthew, Mark,
Yeah.
Luke, John?
Yeah. Even though Mark came first. So, interesting news, though. So, it's actually related to this. So, do you remember in Uganda they had the Kill the Gays bill? So, there was some legislature in Uganda that made it illegal to be homosexual,
Okay.
and you could be put to death for it. And later on, then it was kind of changed down to just life in prison. How that was made possible was by an American pastor, Scott Lively, where he went down and he actually helped craft that bill with them, the Kill the Gays bill. He has now been charged with crimes against humanity.
You should be.
And so I'm very excited to hear that. I don't know whether he actually will be charged with crimes against humanity and go to prison for a very long time. But it's amazing the fact that people are going, hold the fuck on. That's bullshit. You're crafting a bill that is going to cause genocide and mass murder. You deserve to be held accountable for this. All right. So let's wrap it up. And let's call that good.
I just wrote him I had to pee really bad, but I didn't want to say it on air. But I just did.
So you could have just said that. And you already said that before, too.
Yeah, no, but apparently you weren't listening.
So you should think of waterfalls and dripping faucets and drip, 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 water flowing.
Okay, thank you guys for showing up today. I appreciate everybody who listens, who subscribes. The show will get better.
No, it won't.
Probably not.
Probably not. This is probably about as good
It'll
as it's
get
going to
better when you know who gets off camera. No, we love Clark.
You better love me.
We do.
I have the camera.
Yeah.
This show's possible because I've got the camera.
You got the stuff, so we have to love you.
Yeah, I'd like to actually hear everyone's opinions in the comments below, and I would love it to be, just a slugfest down there. But I'm guessing it's probably not going to be. But if anyone has any comments on either of these topics, the Arizona Gay Pastor or the Scott Lively, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. So until next time, this is Rambling Tangent,
We are the Brohemians.
and we will see you next time.
We love you.
No, we don't.
Fuck, man. Come on!